Temporarily avoided the fiscal cliff by passing the American Taxpayer Relief Act, but the threat of sequestration is still looming. The deadline for across-the-board cuts to defense spending has been pushed back to March. 10 Your Side's Art Kahn joins us now with how that delay could actually make things worse. Art?
Well, Stephanie, Congress could still reach an agreement that would prevent sequestration. However, if the draconian cuts to defense spending do become necessary, the Department of Defense and Hampton Roads, for that matter, will have far less time to prepare for the cuts, a concern voiced by the Secretary of Defense himself when he visited Norfolk last year.
But for God's sakes, don't just kick this can down the road.
The Secretary of Defense, Leon Panetta, made that plea in Norfolk while speaking to the Hampton Roads Chamber of Commerce in October.
That's exactly what we've done.
4th District Congressman Randy Forbes says Congress has been kicking the can down the road for some time, actually, and now time is the enemy. The deadline for sequestration has been extended by 2 months, giving the Department of Defense even less time to determine where to cut spending.
And to this day, right now, we have had nothing presented to our committees about how they've done any analysis, any planning, any preparations for cuts.
The 2nd District Congressman Scott Ridgel is looking to the Commander-in-Chief to take the lead.
I respectfully call on the President to be more engaged in this process because he said definitively that will not happen, that meaning sequestration.
1st District Congressman Bobby Scott says whether through sequestration or some other process, big cuts to defense spending will likely be a product of the legislation passed by Congress to avoid the fiscal cliff.
There's no way to avoid massive cuts in defense because you're not going to be able to, if you're cutting Social Security and Medicare, you're not going to be able to protect defense spending, which is so important to Hampton Roads.
Congressman Scott's Republican colleagues don't think the tax cuts provided for in the bill just passed by the House are aimed at cutting Social Security and Medicare, but do share his concern about the future of the defense budget.
The impact is going to be brutal economically, but also strategically to what our military is going to face, given the situation we're now seeing develop.
Yeah, also uncertain is how this will affect the many civilian contractors in Hampton Roads who work for the military. I mean, it's hard to imagine huge corporations or even independent contractors making long-term decisions for next year when they won't know until March what areas the DoD will cut spending and if, in fact, the massive cuts called for by sequestration will become a reality. Art Kahn, 10 on your side.